Welcome to our channel. Sometimes someone you're talking to doesn't say anything, but you suddenly feel guilty, as if you haven't met their expectations. You feel like you've done something wrong, in other words. This is actually the most invisible form of manipulation in communication. Today, I want to film the second part of the video I previously made about how to protect ourselves from manipulation. So, how can we protect ourselves? Can you explain it with 3 methods?
Now, first of all, if a person feels inadequate or guilty because of a decision they made, as we mentioned in the previous video, it will be very difficult for them to say no. In other words, it means they've been manipulated. Let's mention 3 things again. What should we do? First of all, we need to know ourselves well. All right? Another necessary thing to protect ourselves from manipulation. Do I really want to do this? Or am I agreeing just so the other person doesn't get hurt or upset? We don't have to accept everything. It might not be suitable for you. The person in front of you might get hurt. As I mentioned in the previous video, we sometimes push people towards manipulation. By trying to protect them, we should be able to firmly protect our boundaries. And there's also something like this here. Again, our own internal anxieties, fears, and thoughts can also create a ground for manipulation. Even if people get hurt or feel upset because you turn down their offer, they won't break their connection with you. In fact, in most cases, and I observe this in my one-on-one sessions as well, people who are able to say no feel more belonging in the relationship, okay? And their relationship with the other person is built on a more solid foundation. I recommend that you try to experience this. Secondly, look, here's a simple and effective method for taking control in communication with these manipulators. They usually do this. For example, I felt bad for you, or I was thinking about you.
I think you shouldn't do it that way, but it's up to you.
Yes, things like that. Someone says something to you, and you either reject it or remain undecided. You said, let me think about it. But the other person insists and says, it's up to you, but if it were me, I would do it. Here, you've already not accepted it once, and the other person is behaving manipulatively towards you. Even if they genuinely care about you, they must first respect your decisions or your readiness. If you take their advice, you'll do it when you feel ready. So, at this point, how can we take control in communication? After saying that, you don't have to make a decision right away. It's up to you, but if it were me, I would do it. What exactly are you asking from me? They have to explain themselves there. So why do you want this? I wanted to think about this. Why? Maybe they'll convince you, or maybe most likely they'll give up, and you'll have stayed within your own boundaries. Now, let's move on to our third point. Again, here you can take control in a manipulative process with this simple method. Now, manipulation is usually done through emotions. You should be able to analyze the statements and attitude of the person you are communicating with. Actually, this is not as difficult as it seems. For example, how do these things get put into words? People may come up with statements like these during communication. Because manipulation is a process, it means that it has done a favor for you. I did it to make you happy. And over time, you start to feel emotionally indebted to me too.
They actually make you feel guilty.
Then when he offers you something, if you decline, there is a high probability that you will feel guilty. Just like you said, here's what we need to look at. In other words, you need to approach the process holistically, constantly reassess yourself, and make an effort to be true to yourself. Okay, so maybe he did that for my happiness, or he said he moved here for me. But don't forget this, everyone has free will. Even if he hadn't done that, your relationship would have progressed in some way. Or he made you happy there. If he claims he did this just for your happiness, why does he bring it up when he wants something from you? If you review these things, your chances of being manipulated decrease. As I mentioned in the previous video about this, let me say it again. Being overly well-intentioned or overly agreeable means we don't have boundaries. Naturally, this makes us more susceptible to manipulation. People exist with their values, and everyone has their own preferences. Saying no is also one of our choices. Saying yes is also our choice, and all relationship dynamics can be built on a solid foundation with the right choices. By the way, let me say this. You can actually use these tactics even against people who are truly narcissistic. They are the ones who are the most determined and strong when it comes to manipulation. But you can still use them against such people. See you in the next video.